And welcome back to another episode of The Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and we always want to start our segment by thanking our sponsors. Thank you so much to Equity First. If you are experiencing credit and or financial challenges, feel free to reach out to any one of their trained professionals. They are bilingual, nationwide, and waiting for your call. And most importantly, they can help you personally, and they can also help you if you are a business owner. So once again, we are in studio today, and my next guest is Debra Mangogna with RE/MAX Integrity Leaders. How are you?
Very good, very good. Pleasure to be here.
I feel like you might not be, comfortable. So get yourself comfortable. We're gonna have fun.
I have to look at you.
You gotta look at me. That's fine. That's fine. So for those that are listening, Debra's trying to figure out if she should be looking at me or looking at the camera because we have Pocket Pete here filming. So Debra, we know that you are in the real estate market, but you have like a very specific niche.
Yes.
You work with, I want to say, short sales and REOs. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with RE/MAX Integrity right now.
Well, I am an REO specialist. Basically, for the past 30 plus years, I've been dealing mainly with the banks as a listing agent. The banks I work with are several like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They're the large institutional banks. I've also been a HUD listing broker. There's always a changeover that comes with, the different banks and the different corporations. So basically, that's what I do. I have to make contact with homeowners. I've got to do property inspections, a little bit of everything.
So when we hear somebody say, hey, I'm the REO specialist, I'll be the first one to say, we just had two wonderful ladies that were involved in investor groups.
Correct.
You must be attacked every day by real estate investors wanting you to be their new BFF.
Yes. That's why as a listing agent, to be quite honest with you, I try to stay away from the investors because everybody wants to put money in your pocket. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, because my responsibility, my fiduciary responsibility, is to do the best for my client, and that's how I've kept so many banks working with me for the longest time. The many investors, and I'd rather be able to hand those investors out to the agents in the office so that this way they could.
Which I love. And it makes sense when you're listening. But, from the outside, even over the years, when I've been introduced to somebody who's an REO specialist, there's another company out there, I'm not going to name them, and they also have a lot of REO listings. And, the challenge is always they get this great inventory, but it's gone before it even hits the market. And that there's a lot of insider opportunities that are happening. I'll say it like that. So how do you manage some of your relationships? Because I'm sure it must be a little stressful.
Well, that's the reason why I said the best thing to do is to hand the buyers and or investors over to agents in the office because people are, they just
keeps you insulated. Almost keeps you insulated.
Yeah, it can. But you know what? I think the reason why, I've been a Freddie Mac REO listing agent since 1993. Okay. And it's myself and the one other large REO person who you were talking.
Yeah,
I think you're thinking about.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because when you're working with these clients, it is the to stand up and do the right thing is a lot of brokers getting, I guess, that were in that REO niche. Maybe kind of got overwhelmed with the process and with the different investors and forgot that fiduciary responsibility. Basically, that is what has happened. And a lot of these REO brokers that were REO brokers are no longer are. I'm not saying they're no longer in real estate, but they're not, the banks are not dealing with them.
So tell me how you've been dealing with the market changes. Has that affected your business personally?
Well, the pandemic basically killed my business because of the fact that I didn't handle retail properties. For the longest time, all I did was bank foreclosures, short sales, relocation. I handle a lot of relocation with maybe homeowners that I'm dealing with that are in the homes that, we offer them relocation assistance. Now it's a little bit more touchier since the pandemic, and they want the attorneys to handle that more so. But The market, it killed my business almost completely. So thank
Because
God.
you're in a different area of real estate. I think people
Yes.
don't recognize that somebody coming in as an REO specialist has a very different responsibility than somebody who's just traditionally showing residential property for sale.
Well, that's funny because a lot of people were like, oh, through the pandemic when our prices went through the roof, they were like, oh, you must be killing it now. No, I'm not. Because see, and if you're not used to handling the regular residential properties, that's a niche in itself also.
Yeah.
That's why there are those agents that will do, say, the luxury properties. There are those agents because that is something that they could be good at. I had never, believe it or not, I had sold regular retail properties, but I never listed them. I only listed REOs. Okay. And at any given time, when I was under my former company, which was Option First Realty, I had anywhere from 150 to 250 properties at one time.
Oh,
okay.
That's very overwhelming.
yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. My husband works with me, and he was my property inspector. He would do he would rekey the properties. I had contractors that I've had relationship with for years that do the same thing. That's their niche. They work with REOs, so they gravitate to the REO brokers.
So let's talk for a minute about what the responsibilities are. So you are working directly with the lender.
Correct.
And the lender retains you and they say, look, we're going to hand you this property. And there's somebody living in the property. Or the properties are REO, so it means that the bank has already taken them back. But sometimes there might be a tenant or the homeowner might still be there. Mm-hmm. Walk me through that first door knock. How are you introducing yourself?
I let them know, I'll say I'm Debra Mangogna. I'm with RE/MAX Integrity Leaders. The reason I'm here is because I represent the bank, and the bank has sent me to find out what your intentions are when the property was foreclosed on. Well, if people get aggressive,
I'm not leaving.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, it's a matter of public record. And what I do is when I go there, I also go with the paperwork that they send me. It's not just like they don't make a phone call anymore. You have the email. Then you have to go to a website in order to complete your task, to accept the assignment. Once you accept the assignment, I'll print all that up and put it into a file, a paper file. Yeah, on a computer, I will have that also, digital. But the paper file is important for proof to the homeowner or the person who's residing on the premises at that time. A lot of times we've also had squatters who come into these houses.
I don't want to admit it, but I've been one of those people that have owned a rental property that squatters have moved into.
Yeah. I had property they had just done an eviction on in I'll tell you the township, Bayshore. I'll never forget this. And we had just gotten them out, and it took us a year to get them out. And within a week now, we inspect.
A week later, their cousins in?
Well, a week later, there were people living in the house. They had the TV on, they had the electric on, the water was on. Walked into the house because we had the key. But they had gotten, I don't know how they got the lockbox code. They took the key out of the lockbox, and there's pictures on the wall. Like nobody had ever, like they've been living there for 6 months. Easy. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. But see, there are different ways there are different things, I should say, that you could do in order to try to get people out. I always believe, when the nicer you are to them, the better you treat them, obviously, the kinder you are, you get more results.
I agree with that.
There are a lot of brokers who get very aggressive, and I just can't see doing that, especially now with the way society is and the way everything is out there. You got to be very careful how you talk to people and how you just project yourself. No,
and I think that there's a lot to be said for that, because when somebody has already gone through foreclosure or there's a tenant, and call it for what it is, I'm a landlord, and Pete, your broker, just helped me through a miserable, nasty transaction. Thanks, Jamie. I had a tenant, didn't pay me for 4 years. And
it took you 4 years?
We were at the tail end of the first set of eviction when the pandemic hit. And then we got stuck with the pandemic. And when the market opened back up, the court said, nope, we want you to start from fresh. And so we had to start all over again. Mm-hmm. So I've been that. So as a landlord, I think most of the times, when people are being asked to leave, if they are the tenant, they're probably not paying. right? It's not that the landlord stopped paying. It's that the tenant stopped paying, and that landlord could only afford to be sustainable for a certain period of time. So there's my saying is, I have clients that that we speak with all the time, and they'll say, oh, I know my house is in foreclosure. Can't you just get me another 6 months? I'm like, did the last 4 years not work for you? Have some accountability.
How is 6 months going to help?
How's he? I know. Yeah. I know. It becomes very stressful. Well, with that said, just for the sake of time, Debbie, you've been amazing to give us a little insight about what the REO market looks like and how it compares to traditional residential real estate. If somebody was interested in working with you or getting on your list of investors to give to the other agents in your office, how does somebody reach you?
You can reach me at 631-987-8564. That's my cell phone. And our office, we're located at 2100 Middle Country Road in Center Reach. You can reach us there at 631-736-2000.
I love it. She had to think about that. It's all right.
It's a new office.
It's a new office. I know. Well, with that in mind, Debbie, thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned. We're bringing you our final guest.